I've been playing in bands since I was 7 years old, and I was fortunate enough to be I was in music lessons. I was musical right out of the gate. I had a great grandmother that had an organ, and I would sit underneath, we'd sing church hymns. But my folks saw this in me, and they put me in music lessons. And the place where I took music lessons were way ahead of its time, and they would put together these little groups of kids around the same age or skill level. And I just got the bug real bad, man. I was 7, 8 years old playing in the band, and I've been in the band ever since. I've never gone without.
So you were mentioning a couple years ago, it was hard starting out. You started out when you were just a young guy. You also credit your lovely wife for helping you, I guess, jumpstart your career.
Yeah, music was my living for a long, long time, and so, I put myself through university playing 4 nights a week, and then when that was done, I immediately went full time, and I was playing 6 nights a week. Sometimes I do doubles on Sunday if I could do a patio gig, and I did that for a long, long time. And I was sort of at a point where nothing was happening. I couldn't get anyone in the business to call me back, and I was about to pack it in, and my wife was like, "Listen, you don't realize how lucky you are." She said, you go to work every night and do something that you love to do, and not a lot of people have that opportunity in their life, and that should be enough for you, is how she put it. Like, that should be enough for you to be happy. You're doing music and making a living at it. And I sort of saw it through her eyes for a minute, and I was like, you know what? You're right. So, I have to keep in mind that I had put tons of pressure on myself all through my 20s and into my 30s to try and make it in the biz, and when that wasn't happening, I was becoming more and more frustrated. And once we had that talk and she sort of put in those terms, I sort of let go of all that. And isn't it funny? As soon as you let go of all that pressure, the phone rings. Mm-hmm. And next thing I knew, I was headed to Nashville.
Oh, you were born in Niagara Falls. You transitioned once in a while to Nashville. I mean, what's it like going from Canada to the U.S. when you're a small-town boy?
It's a bit of a culture shock. I mean, from small-town Canada to go to the mecca of country music. I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel around a lot of places in North America, and the one thing that I do tell people about Nashville is that it's just a lovely, lovely city. And there's an energy there, and I'll never forget my first day or first week in Nashville. I felt like such a small fish in such a big pond. Like having come from playing all the bars in Southern Ontario and sort of making a name for myself at that level, feeling like, I'm ready to take on Nashville. And I got there and was like, oh my God, even the cab drivers are wicked singers. It's like, it's that kind of place where the magic is definitely in the air. Much like I'm sure Hollywood is for actors. Everybody's an actor in Hollywood. In Nashville, it's the same. Everybody's a songwriter. Everyone's a singer. Everybody is musical to some degree. So it can be intimidating, that's for sure.
That's what you're well known for, too, as well, your writing skills. I mean, you work with some heavy hitters, Florida Georgia Line, for example. Yeah. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, I'll tell you how cool it was. I was never in the same room with them. So I have yet to shake their hand. So the song that you're referring to is Get By, which was my first song on the radio. It was my first gold record. And it's a kind of a fantastic story in the sense that it really showcases the way songs are written in these modern times. So I was working with a couple of songwriters from Canada, and they had written with Brian and Tyler, and they hadn't finished this song that they had. And so they kind of were like, I don't think these guys are going to finish it. We don't finish it. Why don't you take a crack? I think there's something with this idea, but we don't know how to flush it out. So they sent me this, really bad demo of somebody singing in the key of Mars, of this song that needed to be finished. But immediately I heard through that, and I was like, there's something with this tune. So I finished it up, and I demoed it in my basement, and we started circulating it around. And that's when the guys from RGK, is my current management record label, they started to really take notice. And we started playing it almost immediately. And I'll tell you, it was one of the first times ever in my career, my lifetime, playing music, where we played one of my songs, and by the second chorus, people were singing it. And so the band and I were killing ourselves, like, oh my God, they think they know it, but they don't know it. And, that was the moment that we were all looking at one another going, I think we're onto something here.
If you could tour with one Canadian artist, who would that be?
Well, it's going to be Cold Creek County and Jason Benoit. I'm going out on the road with those boys. I can't wait to get out with them. We're going to do Get a Little Crazy tour starting in November, and we're going to go across the country. We're going to be close by to you guys, actually, in St. Albert.
Yeah, that's right. Playing at the Go Auto Arena November 7th. That's going to be a great show, man.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and I just think, when we locked down Cold Creek and we locked down Jason Benoit, I just had this feeling like we had the right team on board, and it's gonna be worth seeing, that's for sure.
Let's talk about your new album, 501. Love the sound of that, and if people want to check that out for themselves, they can go listen to it, buy it at timhicks.com. The reaction to that, Tim, has been pretty positive.
Yeah, and the thing is, we did this reissue that we're calling 501 Plus, which is kind of cool because we added 4 new tunes to the original track listing of 501. And the reason we did that was purely about timing. I released 501 in August of last year, and we had the CCMA Awards, and then right away we were planning on doing a tour to get out there and kind of support the record. And I got a phone call from a guy you might have heard of named Dierks Bentley.
Oh yeah.
And Dierks had asked me and had said, Randy Houser's coming. Would you want to come and do the Canadian dates? Of course, we jumped at the chance. And went across the country with those guys, and so put our tour plans on hold. Now, fast forward to the spring of this year, we're talking about what song to release after So Do I, 501, and I'm looking at my team and I'm going like, I feel like a year later I owe it to my fans and to myself, really, to put out something fresh. And in the meantime, I had been writing and recording a ton down south in Nashville, and I had stacked up some songs. So I was looking at like my label guy, president Paul Shaver, going, man, I wish we had some of these songs when we released 501. And so as we got talking, we sort of said, well, could we add some new songs to 501, call it 501, 501 Plus or 501 Deluxe or the Tour Edition, whatever you want to call it. I didn't care what they called it. But just I wanted to get something fresh out to the radio. And so because I felt like if people had been listening to those songs for a year, they might be bored of whatever we were about to put out. So it was just looking at like a creative way to get some new material out and keep it fresh for myself and the band, too, because you don't realize how repetitive it gets playing the same songs every night. So every time I've got a new tune to add to the set, the band's just ready to go on it. So that's very exciting.
Well, Tim, this Sunday you're performing at the CCMAs. You're also nominated in 3 categories, Artist of the Year, Album of the Year, and Interactive Artist of the Year. Congratulations on those nominations. What was your reaction when you first heard?
It's always a pleasure to be spotlighted by your peers in your industry. I try not to put the pressure on myself too much. Just awards are fantastic. But really what matters to me is getting out and playing in front of people and making people happy. That being said, I'm just so pleased that they keep inviting me back to the party. I still feel like I'm the new guy to some extent. And let me tell you, like especially Album of the Year, when I saw that nomination come through, I was so elated. It's because it's such a hard thing to make a record. It's a tedious process. You put a ton of yourself into it, the proverbial blood, sweat, and tears, which really is the truth. And so to get recognized for that work and that body of work was really exciting for me.
Let's talk about the latest single, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of, called Young, Alive, and in Love. Tell us about that great song.
Yeah, Young, Alive, and in Love. I mean, it was just a song that I had heard in the pitch meeting, which is kind of a weird experience. They sort of march you into this room down in Nashville, and all these publishers sit around you, and they play you songs that their writers have written that they think you're going to want to sing, and it's a thing to be that guy in the room and to hear what people think you're going to like. And when it came time for Young, Alive, and in Love, they put it on, and the demo was done up just like Def Leppard. And so I laughed. Like, I laughed out loud, literally, and I looked at my manager, and I'm like, no, I think I'm going to pass on this one. And he said, hold on, we're going to take a copy of that. I want to talk to you about it. So as it turns out, the writers of the songs they were huge Def Leppard fans, and they did the production of the demo that way purely to get a reaction out of people, which worked. And it forced me to kind of hear back through all that and hear, yeah, I think that there's a really good song here. And then when we put it through the Tim Hicks filter, as it turned out to be a great song. I love singing it. I love singing it every night. It's got a great vibe to it and a good summertime feel. And they wound up putting it out as a single. So here we are. It's kind of exciting.